Athens, the world's first democracy, the most glorious city in the ancient world. A city of wealth and power, the center of a mighty naval empire. At the head of this state stood one man, a man who seemed to embody all the Athenians' achievements, Pericles. But Pericles would now risk everything he and the Athenians had built in one great gamble. A war that he hoped would make Athens the undisputed ruler of the Mediterranean. This conflict would indeed transform Athens, but in a way Pericles could never have imagined. It would make this man, a common Athenian named Sokratis, into the ruler of an extraordinary new empire. An empire that remains the Greeks' last great legacy. An empire of the mind. Prison cell in the city of Athens. The year 399 BC. Sokratis, the world's most famous philosopher, prepares for his execution. Around him lies a city ruined by war. A nation stripped of glory and empire. People who have lost everything. Sokratis is perhaps the one man who could have saved his fellow citizens from the greatest defeat in their history. Instead, they have condemned him to death. How could the Athenians come to execute one of their most brilliant minds? How could they lose everything that had once made them great? It is a tale that begins 3 decades before. In the year 431 BC, the city-state of Athens was the greatest power in the Mediterranean. Under the leadership of the patrician Pericles, this tiny state had built a naval empire that stretched across the Aegean. Her mighty fleet of trireme warships was the most powerful of the day. Athens lay at the center of a great trading network that dealt in goods from as far afield as Britain in the west and India in the east, bringing untold wealth into the city. And Pericles had personally devoted himself to making this city the most glorious of the ancient world. He had commissioned the Parthenon, a mighty temple to the goddess Athena, one of the most extravagant monuments in ancient history. But for all his power and sway, Pericles did not rule this city. For Athens was a democracy. This is the assembly area of the Pnyx, home of Athenian democracy. The system that gave every Athenian citizen a say in the running of their state. Here, Pericles had to stand before his fellow citizens and win the right to lead. One day in the year 431 BC, Pericles took the podium and presented the Athenians with a bold new plan. A proposal that would offer Athens her final crowning glory. Pericles intended to vanquish Athens' last great rival, the city-state of Sparta. Sparta was the only other Greek state that matched Athens' power. The Spartans ruled all of southern Greece, and they were a fearsome military force. Their citizens were trained from birth in the arts of war. Tension had been building between Athens and Sparta for decades. To Pericles, it was now time to take on this dangerous adversary. To make Athens the undisputed leader of the Mediterranean.
If we go to war, as I think we must, be determined that we are not going to climb down. For it is from the greatest dangers that the greatest glory is to be won.
The assembly embraced Pericles' plan. The Athenians were never ones to shrink from a fight.
The ancient Greeks as a whole were not by any stretch of the imagination a peace-loving people. Peace was an interruption of war rather than vice versa, and the Athenians were as bellicose as any other Greeks.
But Pericles knew that any war with Sparta would not be easy to win. For the Spartan infantry were far superior to Athens' forces. Athens' strength lay in her navy. So Pericles proposed a strategy of astonishing complexity and sophistication. He convinced the Athenians to abandon all the land around Athens and retreat behind the great long walls that stretched down from the city to its harbor at Piraeus. Pericles would supply the city by sea. Merchantmen would bring in grain, wheat, and other essential supplies from Athens' colonies and allies across the Mediterranean. Protected by the mighty Athenian fleet. And Pericles would use this great navy to attack the Spartans from the coast. It was a strategy based on a set of finely judged assumptions.
Pericles' expectation was that after a year or two, but no more than 3, the Spartans would realize that they could not win the war because the Athenians would never give them the infantry battle they needed in order to win, and they had no other device available.
Athens' fleet had always been key to the city's success. It had won the city great military victories, and it had built her an empire. Pericles was sure that this fleet could now bring Athens her greatest triumph.